begin tonight with someone who has come all the way from Belfast. Glenn Patterson has been a writer-in-residence at the University of East Anglia and the University of Cork. He's currently a tutor in creative writing at Queen's University in Belfast, so he can teach us as well as read to us. He's a prolific writer. His list of books and novels already is as long as my arm. He looks so young. And he's stuck in his outfit because apparently Air Canada lost his bag. Is this any surprise? Welcome to Canada. We're so sorry about that. Glenn also dabbles in documentary making and print journalism. This is a running theme through all of our authors tonight. It's exciting that he's here with us. His latest book is called Once Upon a Hill, Love in Troubled Times. Please welcome to the stage, Glenn Patterson.
Yes, my luggage disappeared. Underneath this, I'm wearing a t-shirt that Air Canada gave me. That's why my coat is zipped up. It's not quite as bad as the time I lost my luggage traveling with Finn Air. They gave me a t-shirt which I wore for 2 days, and every time I opened my coat it just said Finn Air, which was more like an explanation of where my luggage had gone. You all have to switch off your phones, but I can keep mine on because everybody I know is actually asleep in Belfast. Some of them even together. So I don't have a watch. Not because I lost it, just because it wasn't the right colour for my shoes. It was brown, so I left it at home. But I have a stopwatch on this. Right. It's lovely to be here. This is my third time at the Writers' Fest, and the first time, which was the very first one, I think, in 1997. There's a nice circularity because tonight I'm going to read from a work of non-fiction, a memoir, and the first piece of non-fiction I ever wrote, I actually began, it was a short piece, I began in Lake Sweet, just down around the corner, when I was here before. It was called Love Poetry, the RUC, and me, the RUC being the name of the Police Service of Northern Ireland, or the old name of the Police Service of Northern Ireland, with whom I had some dealings when I was in my teens. And although this book that I'm going to read from, Once Upon a Hill, is about my grandparents and events in the 1920s in the small town of Lisburn, now a city in Northern Ireland. It was famous until recently as the only city in Europe without a hotel. They have since opened one about a mile and a half outside the city. They did once upon a time in the 1920s, when this book is set, have quite a number of hotels, but they burnt them all down, which is pretty much what this book is about. Anyway, the bit that I'm going to read isn't about my grandparents. It's about my uncle Jackie, who was also, as it happens, a member of the RUC, and in fact he was a member of its notorious anti-terrorist unit, the Special Patrol Group, and he was divorced just before this bit that I'm about to read. So, that's all you need to know. Oh, at the very, very end, I refer to, in fact, I quote from a novel of mine called Black Night, Big Thunder Mountain, which involves a Northern Irish labourer and a German canteen worker being taken hostage by a Disney Imagineer in Euro Disney. Which in a footnote here, I say, seemed like a very, very good idea at the time, and it seemed like less of a good idea with every passing year since. But anyway, that's In July 1974, the end of my first year at grammar school, I went to stay with friends whose father had just been posted to Derry as chief of the city's fire station. A couple of days after I arrived, my Uncle Jackie happened to phone my parents' house, probably around midnight, for Jackie's body clock was permanently on shifts, his diamond finger permanently itchy. When it came out in conversation with my father that I was in Derry, Jackie started to fret. He was there too, on a special patrol group posting. He wanted my father to give him the number of the people I was staying with so that he could talk to me and tell me not to let on to anyone that he was stationed in the city, and especially not to let on that he was stationed in the city with the SPG. My father talked him out of phoning. Glenn doesn't even know you're there to let on to anyone, he said. He was right. Neither did Glenn at that stage know what the SPG was, or that his uncle Jackie was in it. The next morning, Jackie phoned the fire station in Derry and, unable to speak to the chief officer directly, requested as a matter of urgency his home address. Then he drove in full SPG patrol to my host's house in the predominantly Protestant Waterside to tell me I was not to divulge to anyone that my uncle was there with his SPG unit. It was a Saturday. My friend's father had taken us on a day trip over the border of Donegal. After hanging about in the street for a few minutes, chatting to neighbours, Jackie and his colleagues drove back towards the city centre, taking the same detour they had taken on the outward journey through the Waterside's main Catholic estate of Dublin, a detour that had not gone unnoticed the first time by the local unit of the IRA, who had been busy in the interim mounting an ambush. As the patrol drove past an alleyway, the gunmen hit it with rifle and machine gun fire. The driver of Jackie's Land Rover momentarily lost control of the steering wheel, and the vehicle went into a wild swerve. Jackie was pitched forward, which may have saved him from being hit square in the body by the bullets punching through the Land Rover's armoured plating, but could not save him from the ricochet off the floor that entered his left buttock, or thigh, as the newspapers coyly reported, and lodged in his lower back. It was late when we arrived back from Donegal. News of the shooting was conveyed to my friend's father while us children were getting ready for bed, but it was decided that it would be better to say nothing to me until the following morning. That afternoon, my father collected me from the house and drove me to the nearby Altnagelvin Hospital. As I came through the door of the isolation ward, my Uncle Jackie smiled. "There's the wee boy who got me shot," he said. I burst into tears. "He knows I'm only joking," Jackie said, "don't you?" So needless to say, I was still the wee boy who got him shot when I was leaving grammar school 6 years later. Jackie had returned to duty in the interim, although never again with the SPG, and after various short-term postings had wound up at Lisburn Road Police Station on the main route in Belfast, not far from my girlfriend's house. He would tell whoever was driving the Land Rover to stop any time he saw me, more often than not standing at the bus stop waiting for the last bus home. One night, for something to do, his colleagues set up a vehicle checkpoint while Jackie chatted to me until the bus came about how everyone was doing at home and me getting him shot and all that. Another night, seeing the Land Rover drawing up and not wanting to take any chances, I dumped in the bin bracketed to the bus stop the 8th of red lead I had bought earlier in the evening and had been turning over nervously in my pocket for the last 10 minutes. Never mind that there were rather more weighty and lethal Lebanese imports occupying the police's minds just then. A cargo of arms emanating from PLO's Al-Fatah section and destined for the IRA had been intercepted at Antwerp in 1977. Lebanon, Libya, Spain, USA, Czechoslovakia, South Africa, even Norway. Northern Ireland has been a magnet down the years for tons upon tons of the world's less desirable